Picture a staircase made of money, stacked bundles of cash for every step, climbing up through the clouds toward one glowing number at the very top, $1,000,000. In the staircase works a way almost nobody expects. You don't climb each in a single leap. You climb each one small step at a time, one step every single day. Almost anyone watching this could reach the top. So why do so few people ever make it past the bottom stair? Because the first step has nothing to do with money. It's about something most people are quietly terrified to do. So, what is that first step? It's almost embarrassingly simple. Every single day, you look at your money, you open your accounts, you see the real numbers, and you spend about 5 minutes facing exactly where you stand. That's it. That's the whole habit. I know how small that sounds, which is the entire reason it works and the entire reason it gets ignored. Before we go any further, notice something about your own behavior first. The average person checks their phone something like 100 times a day. They refresh their messages. They scroll through strangers' vacations. They watch the little numbers tick up on a post. But ask that same person what their checking balance is right now till the dollar, and you get a long pause. Ask them how much they spent last week and you get a guess that's almost always wrong. They know this could have a game from 3 nights ago. They have no idea what is happening inside their own bank account. Psychologists have a name for this. They call it the ostrich effect, the instinct to bury your head in the sand when information feels threatening. Money is one of the most threatening kinds of information there is. So, people avoid it. They let the mail pile up. They swipe the card without looking. They tell themselves they'll deal with it later. When things come though, when the next paycheck lands, when life feels a little more stable, the avoidance feels like self-protection. It feels like keeping the stress at arm's length. But it works exactly like a slow leak that you refuse to inspect. And this is the quiet tragedy of staying broke. It usually isn't one giant catastrophic decision. Hardly anyone wakes up and torches their finances a single afternoon. Instead, it's 1,000 small moments you never looked at, adding up in the dark while you were busy not wanting to know. So, let me show you what the dark is hiding right now in 2026, because the picture is genuinely sobering. Roughly 2/3 of American consumers are live paycheck to paycheck heading into 2026. Think about that for a second. Not the unemployed, not the struggling fringe. 2 out of every 3 working people, many of them with solid jobs and decent salaries, are spending essentially everything that comes in. The personal savings rate, which is the share of income people actually keep, slid down to about 4% in early 2026, down from more than 6% just years earlier. People are owning more on paper and keeping less in reality. Then there is the number that makes accountants wince. Americans owe around $114 trillion on their credit cards. That is the highest the Federal Reserve Bank of New York has ever recorded since they started tracking it. The average interest rate on those balances sits above 20%, which means the debt grows faster than most people can shovel against it. And when something goes wrong, when the car needs a transmission or the water heater dies, most households have nothing to absorb the hit. 59% of Americans say they can take out $1 emergency fund savings. They have to borrow, sell something, or simply go without. The ground underneath all of this keeps shifting in the wrong direction. Through 2026, the cost of the basics has been climbing faster than most paychecks. The average American household now spends somewhere around $6,5 a month just to live, which works out to nearly $78 a year before a single vacation, luxury, or emergency enters the picture. Prices have been rising at roughly 38%, while wages crept up closer to 36%. And that small gap is the quiet reason so many people feel like they're running faster and somehow sliding backward at the same time. That squeeze is exactly why the daily habit matters more now, not less. When the margin between what you earn and what you spend gets thinner, every leak matters more. The only way to defend a thin margin is to watch it closely. People assume that when money is tight, looking at it will just make them feel worse. The opposite turns out to be true. The tighter things get, the more a single daily glance becomes the thing standing between you and the credit card. Now for the part that should genuinely stop you cold. Those aren't the poor people, mostly. A lot of them have good incomes. The strain does need to disappear when the paycheck gets bigger. It just hides better. Now, what does any of this have to do with looking at your money every day? Everything. Because almost every one of those slow leaks is invisible on a monthly timeline and obvious on a daily one. Watch how this works in practice. Imagine a woman named Carla. She makes $72 a year, which is a perfectly respectable income, and she has no idea where it goes. She does what financial advice told her 30 years ago. Once a month, she sits down, glances at her statement, feels a flash of guilt, promises to do better, and closes the laptop. 30 days later, she does it again. The monthly review tells her almost nothing because by the time she looks, the money is long gone, and the individual decisions have blurred into one big shrug. If Carla looked every day, the story changes completely. On Monday, she did notice the streaming service she stopped using in the spring is still charging her every month. On Tuesday, she did catch the food delivery fees that quietly doubled the price of dinner. By Thursday, she did see the pattern in her own spending that no monthly summary ever surfaced. The small after-work purchases that feel like nothing in the moment and add up to a car payment by the end of the month. The daily look does need to require willpower. It just removes the blindfold. Let me do something uncomfortable now and actually open Carla's accounts with you because I want to show you the 5 leaks hiding in almost every ordinary financial life. Think of this as an autopsy. Once you've seen them, you can use them in your own statements. The first leak is forgotten subscriptions. The streaming services, the aplicativos, the memberships, the free trials that quietly became paid once the moment you stopped paying attention. The average household now juggles more than a dozen recurring charges. A survey after survey finds the same thing. People guess they spend a small amount on subscriptions and then discover when they finally add each up that the real number is more than double what they estimated. Each one feels too small to cancel. Together, they hear phantom rent payment, leaving your account every month for things you forgot you owned. The second leak is the delivery markup. Ordering food to your door feels like spending the price on the menu. Ichi is nite. Once you stack the service fee, the delivery fee, the inflated IEP menu price, and the tip, those aplicativos routinely add 30 to 50% on top of the meal. A $15 lunch becomes a $22 lunch 3 or 4 times a week. In over a year, the convenience quietly costs more than a decent vacation. The daily look catches it because you see the real charge land, not the menu fantasy. The third leak is buy now, pay later. These services exploded over the last few years, and they re-engineered to make spending feel painless by chopping each into 4 small payments. The problem is that the payments don't show up on a single statement, they scatter across weeks and across different aplicativos. So, people genuinely lose track of how much future income they've already promised away. You feel rich today and broke in 3 weeks, and you can't figure out why. A daily glance is the only thing that keeps the running total visible. The fourth leak is bank fees, and this one is pure waste. Overdraft charges, maintenance fees, out of network charges, the little penalties that hit you when your balance dips at the wrong moment. Americans still pay billions of dollars a year in fees like these, and almost all of them are avoidable once you can see your balance before the charge lands instead of after. This is money you are handing over for the privilege of not looking. The fifth leak is the hardest to name because it does not have a line item. Call it the convenience tax. The extra you pay because you didn't plan, didn't compare, didn't check, the gas station snack, the last minute upgrade, the thing you bought at full price because you didn't be bothered to wait. None of these are crimes, but added together across a year of not looking, they are often the single biggest drain in the whole picture. And they are the first thing that shrinks the moment you start paying attention. And this is the detail almost everyone misses. The point of looking isn't to feel bad about any of this. It's that you cannot fix what you refuse to see. You cannot leak money for long once you are watching the faucet. Awareness alone changes behavior. When you know you are going to look at the number tonight, the $4 impulse this afternoon suddenly has a witness. That single shift from avoidance to attention is the difference between the people who always seem to have money and the people who never do. Let me make this even more uncomfortable because the income excuse needs to gyrate it. There is strong evidence that being broke is not at its core an income problem. Around 40% of people earning $500,000 a year report live paycheck to paycheck. Read that again slowly. $500 a year is still nothing left at the end of the month. If money problems were really income problems, that number would be impossible. The reason it happens has a name, too. It's called lifestyle creep or the hedonic treadmill, and it's one of the most expensive forces in modern life. Every time your income goes up, your idea of normal quietly goes up with it. The raise that felt life-changing in the abstract gets absorbed within a few months, because now you've got the nicer apartment, the upgraded car, the slightly fancier version of everything. The thrill fades fast. Your expenses don't think you end up running on a treadmill where the belt speeds up every time you do more money in the same empty filial. The people who escape this treadmill do one strange thing in advance. They define what enough looks like before they own it. They decide ahead of time what kind of home is genuinely sufficient, what kind of car actually meets their needs, what level of comfort is real satisfaction rather than just the next run. Then they yacht the target instead of letting the target float upward forever, without deadlining the sand. Lifestyle expands to swallow every raise you ever get. With each, every raise after that point flows straight into building your future. So, picture two people standing side by side, both owning the same $150 a year. The first one never looks never defined enough. Money comes in, the lifestyle expands till mid-it, and after 20 years, this person has memories, a closet full of things, and almost no assets. The second one looks every day and quietly redirects a slice of every paycheck before it can be spent. After those same 20 years at the market long on average return, the quiet redirection grows into something north of $3,000. Same income, same city, same opportunities. The only thing that separated them was whether they were willing to look at what they did with what they saw, which brings us back to the staircase. Because looking is the first step, but it isn't the whole climb. Looking is what makes the second move possible. The second move is this: every day you look, you also take one small step forward. You move a fixed amount toward your future automatically before your spending brain ever gets its hands on it. It can be tiny. In fact, it should start tiny because the goal is to make it so painless that you never feel tempted to skip it. And this is where the math turns almost unbelievable. So stay with me because the numbers are real and they are count. Let us say you redirect $10 a day. The cost of a sandwich or a couple of coffees or one impulse buy you didn't really want. $10 a day is about $300 a month. In over a 40-year working life, you have personally set aside around $146. That's the part your spending brain understands. What it can to picture is the rest. Invested in a simple low-cost fund that tracks the broad ultrasonography market at that market long on average return of roughly 10% a year. The $10 a day grows to more than $1,000 from sandwich money, because the market did the heavy lifting while you did the small, boring daily thing. Let me give you the conservative version, too, because honesty matters more than hype. If you assume a more cautious 8% instead of 10%, that same $10 a day still grows to over $1 million across 40 years. The exact landing spot depends on the years you happen to live through. The direction does not. Want it faster? Push the daily step till $25, roughly the price of one modest takeout order. At the market's historical average, that habit crosses $1,000 in about 25 years and keeps climbing towards $175,000 if you give it 30. The lever that moves the outcome the most is not picking the perfect investment. Each is the size of the daily step in the number of years you let each compound. There is an easy way to feel the engine running underneath all of this. There is an old shortcut called the rule of 72. You take the number 72 and divide it by your annual return, and it tells you roughly how many years each takes your money to double. At 10%, money doubles about every 7 years. So, $1 you invest you only treat as has the chance to double and double again before you hit it. The dollar isn't working harder than you, it is just working longer, each never asks for a day off. Now, think about the most ordinary expense you have. A $7 coffee every single day. Most people would swear that habit is meaningless, just a small pleasure that couldn't possibly matter. Redirect that exact $7 into the market for a full career. Em a cautious return, it grows to roughly $743. The coffee was never $7. The real price was $750,000, paid quietly over a lifetime, and almost nobody ever sees the receipt. If you're getting value out of this, take 1 second to subscribe because I walk through this kind of money behavior every single week. And the next step in your climb is a lot easier when you don't have to find it alone. Then stay with me because we still need to talk about why the daily version of this works when the monthly version almost always fails. Step back and look at the bigger pattern for a moment because this is where most financial advice gets it backwards. The standard playbook tells you to build a perfect budget, summon enormous discipline, a white-knuckle your way to wealth through sheer willpower. That approach falls apart for a simple well-documented reason. Willpower is a finite resource. Each drains throughout the day. By the evening, after work is 100 small decisions, the version of you trying to resist a purchase is running on empty. In the version of you that wants the thing is wide awake. The daily money habit sidesteps willpower entirely. In that is its secret. Looking every day isn't a feat of discipline. Each is a tiny repeatable ritual, the financial equivalent of brushing your teeth. You're not relying on motivation, which comes and goes. You're building a behavior so small and so consistent that it runs on autopilot. And once the look becomes automatic, it starts dragging your other behaviors into line with almost no effort. Researchers who study habits call this a keystone habit, a single small routine that quietly reorganizes everything around it. When you look at your money daily, you naturally start spending a little more deliberately because the number is no longer a stranger. You catch the leaks faster. You feel the forward step accumulating, which makes you want to protect each. One 5-minute ritual ends up doing the work that 100 separate resolutions never could. There is also a beautiful asymmetry hiding it. The monthly reviewer sees a finished disaster they can't undo. The daily looker sees problems while they is too small enough to fix. Catching a forgotten subscription on data costs you one charge. Catching each on a monthly statement costs you the whole month every month until you finally notice. Multiply that across every small leaky atypical life. The daily habit isn't a little better than the monthly one. It operates on a completely different level. Something else compounds alongside the money, something people never expect when they start. Confidence. The first time you face a number you been dreading, survive it. Money stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like a tool. After a few weeks of looking, you stop flinching. After a few months, you start making sharper decisions almost without thinking because you finally have an accurate live sense of where you stand instead of a vague cloud of anxiety. People who avoid their money tend to make their worst financial choices precisely because they are guessing in the dark, panic buying, panic selling, ignoring a problem until it becomes an emergency. The daily looker rarely panics because nothing about their own finances is a surprise anymore. That steadiness is worth as much as any single investment. Each is a direct byproduct of the smallest habit in this entire video. So, let me get specific because I don't want to leave you with a nice idea and no instructions. So, walk through the 5-minute daily ritual with me start till finish. First, you open your accounts, you read the actual balances. Not a guess, not a vibe, the real numbers. Checking, savings, and whatever card you use most. The goal of this first 30 seconds is simply to make the number a familiar face instead of a feared stranger. Second, you scan one day of transactions, just the last day. You're looking for anything that surprises you, anything you forgot, anything that doesn't match the version of yourself you're trying to be. This is where the leaks die. Most of them can't survive being seen today zero. Third, you confirm the forward step. If you've automated it, you should. This is just a quick nod to the system. The fixed amount move toward your future today exactly as planned without needing your permission or your willpower. If you haven't automated it yet, this is the moment you move it by hand, which builds the muscle until the machine takes over. Fourth, when you're tempted by anything that isn't a true need, you run the pies. You give any no-essential purchase a full day before you buy. Studies of impulse spending have found that this single 24-hour delay quietly eliminates a large shed of impulse buys because most cravings for stuff simply evaporate when they aren't fed in the moment. You're not forbidding yourself anything. You're just refusing to let the impulse drive you. Now, where should the money actually live you while it climbs? Your emergency cash, the cushion that keeps one bad week from becoming a credit card spiral, belongs in a high-yield savings account. As of 2026, the best of these pays somewhere around 4 to 5% a year, while the average traditional bank account pays a humiliating fraction of 1%. Same dollars, same safety, roughly this is the return just for moving the money to the right place. There is almost no faster winning personal finance than that one switch. The forward step, the part that actually builds the staircase, belongs in tax-advantaged accounts wherever possible. If your job offers a 401 mil with any kind of match, that match is free money. Walking past it is the most expensive mistake in this entire video. For 2026, you can put up teu $24,5 entrar 401 mil. Beyond that, our Auth Individual Retirement Account lets your money grow and come out to completely tax-free retirement. And for 2026, you can contribute up till $7,5 if you handle 50. You don't need to max this out to start. You need to start today with whatever the daily step allows and let Dios do what Dios do. Let me make the forward step concrete because the word automatic is carrying a lot of weight in that sentence and I don't want it to stay vague. You really building the systems. The first one moves the money. On the day you get paid, before that cash ever lands in the account you spend from, a fixed amount should peel off on its own and travel straight into your savings and your investments. Most banks and brokerages let you split your direct deposit or schedule a recurring transfer so the money is gone before you can feel its absence. Paying yourself first is not a cute slogan. It's the entire difference between saving whatever happens till be left over, which is reliably nothing, and saving off at the very top, which is reliably everything. The second system grows the money. It simple genuinely bitches clever. For most people, the forward step belongs in a low-cost fund that owns the whole ultrasonography market in a single purchase, or a target date fund that quietly rebalances itself as you age. You are not trying to outsmart the professionals who do this all day. You're trying to own a slice of the entire economy and then get out of its way, which raises something almost nobody bothers to check. It costs them a small fortune. Fees. A low-cost index fund might charge you something like 3 to 10 cents a year for every $100 you have each. A typical actively managed fund can charge you a full dollar or more for that same 100. That gap sounds laughably small. Stretched across a 40-year climb, it can quietly carve hundreds of thousands of dollars off your final number. Money that flowed to a fund manager instead of to you in exchange for results that on average were better. The boring, cheap, broad option usually wins. The daily look is what keeps you honest about what you're actually paying. Now, I can already hear the objections because every single time I lay this out, the same 3 excuses come up. They're reasonable. They also be adaptable. So, let me take them one at a time. The first excuse is, I have debt, so I can't invest yet. This one is actually half right. The daily look is exactly what sorts it out. If you're carrying a credit card balance at 22% interest, paying the down is not a consolation prize. It's a guaranteed 22% return tax-free with zero risk. And that beats what the stock market gives you in a typical year. So, the smart order is simple. Grab any free 400 e 1,000 match first because that's an instant doubling you can't get anywhere else. Then in your forward step at the high interest debt like a heat-seeking missile until it's gone. Then redirect that exact same daily amount into investing. The debt and the wealth is the same muscle. You're just pointing each at the right target first. You only know which target is right because you're looking every day. The second excuse is the market scares me. What if I put my money in it crashes? This fear is completely understandable and the history is the answer to it. Go back to the spring of 2009, the depths of the financial crisis. The market had been cut roughly in half. The headlines were apocalyptic and the broad ultrasonografia index sat near 670 points, terrifying. And yet, by early 2026, that same index had crossed 7 for the first time. The people who got wealthy from that stretch were IT geniuses who timed the bottom. They were ordinary people who simply kept investing the same steady amount month after month while everyone else panicked. That steadiness has a name. Each is called dollar cost averaging. Each means when the market drops, your fixed daily step automatically buys more shares on sale. Roughly 3 out of every 4 years in market history have been positive. The crashes are real, but they've always been temporary. The daily habit is the thing that keeps you calmly buying right through them instead of fleeing at the worst possible moment. The third excuse is the most common and the most heartbreaking. I don't earn enough to do this. I hear you. And I'm not going to pretend the squeeze isn't real because in 2026, prices have been rising faster than a lot of paychecks. But look at what the math actually says. You do not need $10 a day to begin. Start with 5. $5 a day invested at the market as long on average over a full career still grows to nearly $1 million. The number that builds the staircase isn't the size of your income, it is the consistency of your step. Starting small and never stopping beats starting big and quitting in 3 months every single time. The daily habit isn't reserved for people who already have money. It is the exact thing that turns people who don't into people who do. There is a fourth objection that is quieter than the others, each might be the most common of all. If you tried this before I failed, maybe you downloaded the budgeting aplicativo and abandoned it a week. Maybe you started a savings challenge in January and quit by February. If that is you, I want to be clear about why it happened, because it almost certainly wasn't a lack of discipline. It was the all or nothing trap. You set a heroic goal. You slipped once in the moment you slipped, the whole thing felt ruined. So, you walked away from it entirely. The daily look survives slipping precisely because each is so small. Miss a day, you look the next day. Spend more than you meant to on a Tuesday. The habit doesn't collapse because the habit was never the perfect month. It was just the next glance. There is no failing at this in any permanent way. There is only looking or not looking today. That forgiveness built into the desire is the reason Nietzsche sticks when everything more ambitious fell apartamento. There is one more thing I have to address because it freezes the opposite groups of people, the young who feel like they have all the time in the world and the not so young who feel like they've already missed the boat. Both are wrong for the same reason. Time is the single most valuable ingredient in this entire recipe, which is exactly why you cannot afford to waste the years you still have in front of you. Look at what waiting actually costs. Someone who starts the $10 a day habit at 25 has a real shot at well over $1 million by the time they retire. Wait until 35 to begin the identical habit, and that final number can be cut roughly in half because you handed the market 10 fewer years till its doubling. The decade you delay does not cost you 10 years of small contributions. It costs you the largest oblins of all, the ones that land at the very end when the balance is biggest. That is the warning for anyone young enough to still be treating this as a future problem. And now the reassurance for the latch starters, and I mean every word of it. The second best time to start is right now, tonight. If you in your 40s or 50s, you may not match the person who began at 22. But the gap between starting today and starting never is not some smaller number. It is the whole difference between a secure, dignified future and a frightening one. A habit big and latch still bears a flawless plan you never start. The staircase does not care how old you are when you take the first step. It only cares that you keep taking them. So, let me tell you what the first 30 days of this actually feel like. Because knowing the emotional terrain ahead makes it far easier to push through. Week 1 is uncomfortable, and I want to pretend otherwise. The first time you open accounts you've been avoiding, the number 10 still sting. You might feel a flash of shame or regret or a quiet wish you'd started years ago. That feeling is not a sign you're failing. It is the precise sensation of a problem stepping out of the shadows, and it fades faster than you'd expect. Usually within a few days of looking it in the eye. Week 2 is where something shifts. The dread starts to thin out because the number is no longer a mystery you're bracing against. You begin to feel a flicker of something unfamiliar, which is control. You catch your first leak, maybe a subscription you'd forgotten, and you kill it. In this small jolt of satisfaction formed that one window is more for your motivation than any motivational speech ever could. By week 3, the daily look has stopped feeling like a shot and started feeling like a check with someone you actually care about, which is your future self. You notice you're hesitating before pointless purchases, not because you're forcing yourself, but because the number is watching now and you don't want to disappoint it. The leaks keep shrinking. The friction you built starts doing the work for you. And by the end of the first month, the forward step has become real. You can see it. A small but growing balance that didn't exist 30 days ago. The first few stairs of the staircase actually built beneath your feet. That visible progress is the hook that locks the habit in for good. Because now you're not chasing a far-off million. You're protecting something real that you manage with your own attention, one ordinary day at a time. And I want you to sit with what the protection actually buys because it is bigger than a number on a screen. Real financial security does not feel like a yacht or a sports car. It feels like sleeping through the night without your stomach tightening at 3 in the morning. It feels like a car repair being an annoyance instead of a catastrophe. It feels like being able to walk away from a job that is quietly destroying you, or take a time off when someone you love needs you, or saying no to something that pays well but costs you your peace. That is the real prize hiding at the top of the staircase. Not the $1 million itself, but the freedom the $1 million represents. The daily look is how ordinary people buy that freedom in tiny installments while everyone around them is busy buying the appearance of each on credit. Let me pull the camera all the way back now because underneath the math and the mechanics, this was never really a money story. It's a fair story. The reason people don't look is not laziness, it's dread. Somewhere along the way, the number became a verdict, a scorecard for whether you are competent adult or a failure. And nobody wants to face a verdict at the end of a long day, so they look away. The trouble is that looking away does not pause the leak. It just guarantees you ele never catch it. The avoidance that feels like mercy is the thing keeping you stuck. The cure is almost logo gentle. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to feel ready. You just have to look today for 5 minutes and then take one small step. Tomorrow you look again. The number stops being a verdict and starts being a dashboard. Just information you use it to steer. And once that switch flips, staying broke becomes genuinely hard to do. Because broke is mostly what happens in the dark. You turn the lights on for good. But there is one honest catch I owe you. Each is the most important thing ele say. Looking only works if you understand what you're looking at. Think about it. You can open your accounts every single day, but if you don't know the difference between an interest rate and an annual return, if you've never understood how compounding actually works, if nobody ever explained what a Roth account is or why the 401 matches free money, then you're staring at a dashboard a language you can't read. The daily habit gives you attention, but attention without understanding is just anxiety with extra steps. You ideally see the numbers moving, have no idea whether to feel calm or alarmed. That's why the real first step, the one before the staircase, is building the foundation, the money vocabulary, how debt works, and why some debt quietly devours you while other debt builds you, how taxes shape every dollar you keep. How compounding turns small, boring daily actions into life-changing sums, which is the entire engine we just spent this whole video describing. Get that foundation right, every other money decision you ever make gets easier because you finally know what you're looking at when you look. Skip each. Even good habits sit on sand. So, if any part of this felt like staring at your dashboard you couldn't fully read, that's not a flaw in you. It just means the foundation came in the wrong order, and that's a fixable thing. I made a full breakdown of exactly that foundation, the financial literacy starting point that every confident investor quietly built first. It's the most natural next move for me. The video walking through it is sitting right there for you. It's honestly where this entire journey is supposed to begin, because the truth about that staircase magic of money is simpler than it looks. It was never really built out of cash. It was built out of two ordinary things repeated: the willingness to look and the willingness to take one small step every single day. Almost nobody does both. The ones who don't end up broke. They end up at the top wondering why it ever looks so far away.